Kane, it's 1-0. We're fucking down. 13th in the championship. The takeover happened as I said it would. People will be. Oh, when have we got Leeds? Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Your Football Show. Apologies for being 5 minutes late, and it's time for another episode of The Final Word, later than normally scheduled, but I had a nice relaxed evening last night. But I wanted to round off what has been, I wowould say, a good week for Leeds United. The transfer window shut with Connor Roberts coming in the door. Of course, Leeds United won on Friday night, and then thankfully, at least one of the teams above us dropped points on Saturday. Ipswich beaten 3-2. By Preston. So a really good week, and then we've got the FA Cup to look forward to in just 48 hours. Sorry, I don't know where 42 came from. Maybe it is 42 because it is past 8 o'clock. I don't know. Shut up, Joe. Stop talking. Please smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course hit that notification bell. We have got an unreal lineup today. We've got Lockie top left. We've got Jer just above me. We've got the lovely Evil top right. We've got Oscar and his famous mic as well, and we've got Dale Atkinson with us, who thankfully joined us on the transfer show, was one of the members. I do want to see or try to get members involved more moving forward. I feel it's only fair after there's a lot of years now, so it's about time I gave something back in that respect. So if you fancy a slot or just want to jump on one of the shows, give us a shout. Admittedly, I will just put this. You have to, have some decent takes and whatnot, and just give, what I mean? Because I don't want to bring. I don't want someone coming on and saying Man United are the best and Leeds are washed and Daniel Farke's worse than shit and that, because it ain't gonna fly. It ain't an echo chamber, but it ain't gonna fly on this channel. All right, so it is what it is. Just want to get that out there, otherwise everyone will be banging down the door. Right, okay. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, comments in, hit that notification bell. And Lockie, I'm going to come to you first. We'll work clockwise. I do just want to start before the game. I know it's the final word, but I haven't really done a panel show around the transfer window. So I just wanted to get your take on the transfer window. Obviously, you've done a reaction video to Connor Roberts, so clearly, you rate him. And I think what was quite telling, just to dip into the game, was the fact that he brought on Byram at right back and moved Gray into midfield. And I think that's a look into the future of now where he's going, okay, I'm going to test Gray in there more now. And then before you know it, I said this to my friends, and I know it's been said on Twitter, I think we end the season with Gray playing in midfield. I think the confidence has built up that much that he's now willing to go, you're now playing in midfield, lads. Do you know what I mean? You've done your hard yards, now going in there. But, Lockie, talk to me about the transfer window and Connor Roberts, bro.
I'll talk about Roberts in a sec. It's tough in it because we sit here and we go, we want a 10, we want this player, we want that player. But when you actually watch Leeds, everyone that we want in a certain position, we already have someone in there that's very good. So it's difficult to have a player at the level that's going to help us, who is also going to get the game time they require. That's the biggest issue. We're not an issue because we have those players, so it's not an issue. But so we want a 10, right? He's just not going to play anymore, is he? Let's be real, because Georgina Rutters plays almost every minute of every game. So you kind of need a young player that's willing to think, but then they're not cheap. So it's kind of balancing out our own desires, because fans always want more, right? We always want a new toy. But realistically, the only real positions I think were feasible in terms of the budget as well, because I'm led to believe, listen to what Phil said, that the budget is very tight and we can't really spend much because we didn't sell a lot in the summer. The business of Connor Roberts looks really good. You get him on a loan, a player who's, from what he said, is clearly willing to fight for that position, and he's accepting, he's not going to start every minute. He has to push Archie Gray. And that one signing of a right back changes so much, because you've got Connor Roberts, who is, let's be real, should be very good at this level. He was last season. I think he was in the team of the year for Burnley, right? And he's not even bad in the Prem. I just don't think he fit what company wanted. Company's changed a bit, changed his style. They've changed almost all their team from the Championship, which isn't working. But you look at that, and realistically, Connor Roberts is going to play a lot of football for Leeds, which then puts Archie Gray in midfield, which then potentially puts Kamara on the bench. And then you look at the back, we need a centre back. But then you think, well, actually, if that's the case, and Gray does go in midfield and Gruetter continues to play, Stroud don't get back in. So you've got Strauch on the bench, you've got Kamara on the bench, you've got Joe Perreault on the bench. It's hard to bring anyone in and say, look, you're going to play more than 10 minutes a game. And you look at Nonto now, he would be on the bench. So you had that on there. When Dan James comes back, in whenever that is, has Nonto been playing consistently? Has he been scoring? Has he been getting assists? Does Dan James get in straight away? Suddenly that bench looks ridiculously strong. And all because really 2 or 3 players have stepped up and we brought in a right back. So yeah, I'd have liked a left back just based on the fact that Junior and Sam Byram are very injury prone. We all know that. I think the club knew that. But with Connor Roberts, and then we saw Sam Byram coming on at right back as well. So there's depth there. So sorry to go on for so long, but for me, I was happy. Originally, I was a bit kind of, we needed more, but when you actually look at the bench, when we have everyone back, it's crazy what we have on there. And with Archie Gray stepping up, we'll talk about him, I'm presuming, a bit more in the thing, yeah. But yeah, happy-ish. I would have liked a left back. But apart from that, I'm looking at our squad, and if we can just be relatively lucky with injuries, it's very strong for me.
Yeah, I agree. And take as long as you need, mate, with analysis like that. I thought it was on point. I don't think you took a misstep, to be honest. I think you bang on when you actually sit back and actually analyse it. You know, people say we need bodies here and there, but you're right. Like, it's just, I hate the whole notion of, I think this was put to Evie before as well, on another channel. Like, I hate this whole notion that, like, what if XYZ gets injured, and it's like, all right, so we just stockpile players who are of a similar level, put them on the bench. What does that then do? It creates unrest, disharmony, and then you have a squad that everyone hates each other, and before you know it, we're like we are last season. So I think, just to come to you, I think it's been managed really well with the 49ers. They took their time, yes, and that draws frustration within the fan base because we all want everything now. But come the end of the window, I think actually we go, yeah, it's all right. Okay, if we get left back, they've risked it, but you know, everything else, you know, we're all right, and it's okay to be all right, I think.
We've got plenty of cover. Now, think about that one right back, that one specialist right back changes a lot of the dynamic at the back. Now Archie's cover. Assuming Connor Roberts gets in ahead of Archie, because Archie was fantastic again the other night. He was excellent. So assuming Connor Roberts gets in, and to Lockie's points, and 100%, got to earn your spot in this team. Daniel Farke is clearly a man of earn your spot, you know, and he wants to reward patience. And I think Square Ball said this week as well, if you actually look at the team, and I've been critical that we haven't rotated the team often enough when we've had chances to do it, but if you actually look at the team, it's slowly changing as the season goes on. It's players are coming in and nailing down their spot. Gruel, for example, you know, you've already mentioned Ampadu, so those players have nailed down those spots now, so other players have got to step up their game or wait for their opportunities. Now, they won't come around easily, but if you go through that entire backline, you've got at least 2 options at right back. Throw Sam Byram in there as well as a third option. You've got 2 options at right centre back, 2 options at left centre back, and then you've got Junior Firpo and Sam Byram as left backs. Yeah, they could get injured. Jamie Shackleton's in that mix as well. And Connor Roberts can play left back as well and has played left back. So if you need him to play there, he can play there as well. So all of a sudden, that back line looks fine. Midfield, with one signing of a right back. Now Archie Gray's an option in midfield as well. You've got Gruev, you've got Ampadu, you've got Kamara. Yeah. Plenty. That's just 2 positions there alone. Then you go to the front 4 and nobody's worried about the front 4. I wanted a 10, but Georgie's been phenomenal. Who's going to take him out of that team? And who's going to come and sit on the bench for 6 months? I keep saying this. It's been said, there's a massive overhaul of this squad expected in the summer. Leeds are not going to stockpile players with 6 months left before that plan kicks in. It's not going to happen. Leeds need what they need to get over the line. And right now, and again, some of the outrage on Twitter, it's Twitter. So, you know, that's half the problem. But if you take that, some of the outrage and look at it, people are outraged at fringe players that haven't kicked the ball in the first team either all season or in 2 seasons or barely at all or not since the second week of the season. And it's that point, like, the outrage is because of what? These players, like, I'm a massive Sean McGurk fan. I think he's a really good player. He's a workhorse. I think he'll eventually come good. But he's out of contract in the summer. And if he's not pushing for the first 18, then what's the point of having him standing around the place? You can't offer him a new contract because you don't know what you're going to get with him. And if Leeds go to the Premier Division, all of a sudden, that's that out of the equation. So there's smart decisions that have been made here. And if you take the emotion out of it, step back from it for a second and look at it, there's smart decisions being based on a longer term plan. So, and if we had been losing games in January, I would have understood the outrage. But we're not. It's 5 wins in a row.
Unreal. Yeah, I agree with you. And there's a few things I want to pick out. And I'm just going to jump past Evie for a second because I just want to come to Oscar because you made a great point about this change of tactics almost by Farke through the course of the season, which Jers touched on and Andrea's mentioned before of how like the system now from Farke is almost fitting the personnel that we've got. And you mentioned Oscar online. I thought you were bang on in terms of how we look out at possession and stuff. We almost look impenetrable at times, I feel, anyway, with Rodon, Ampadu, Gruyev. It's great what Farke's done over the course of the season, right, Oscar? After initial maybe some questions or his reluctance to change and, play Pirro in the 9 or move Pirro, and okay, he has made tweaks that fans wanted, but there is a lot of nuances as well that maybe not everyone picks up on, but it's great what he has done with the squad and where we're at right now, Oscar.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can't just be put on the individual quality of Rodon and Ampadu. It goes beyond that for me. They're massive difference makers, don't get me wrong. And I think any team in this league would love to have them in the squad or, even available to them. But you've got to give Farke credit in terms of how he's adapted things with this Leeds team. Because I think when Farke first took the job, the perception of Daniel Farke certainly was at Norwich that great to watch, really entertaining, absolutely smash teams in the Championship level, create chance after chance after chance, exciting, but not the best defensively, even at Championship level. We saw with Norwich. But I think with Farke, is that improvement in him himself? I think he's becoming more and more complete as a manager. I think it's this thing where managers almost get pigeonholed a little bit. Like there's no players can improve all the time, but so can managers as well. And I think Farke, as the season's gone on, I think we're getting better. I think Southampton, Ipswich have really hit their ceiling already. I don't think we have personally. I say Leicester probably hit their ceiling about now as well. Whether you can say that's higher than what ours is, who knows? But that's the point. I still think we're getting better and better. The fact that we're doing this with people like Pascal out of the team, Ampadu into the back four. Listen, I think Ampadu has been absolutely fantastic at the heart of the defence. But for me, he's still better in midfield. I still think he's the best in his position in the league in terms of covering the back four. And I think there's moments in games where you think, oh, you just maybe want Ampadu in there from time to time. But listen, they're becoming fewer and far between. And it just shows that's a sign of a top manager, the fact that we can have these players missing and not skip a beat, really. I think really the big turning point for me, and I don't want to keep going on about Jed Spence, because listen, I thought Jed Spence when he arrived, top signing, but it's allowed us, Farke being so strong in how he's managed Jed Spence, the fact that he's just been straight out the door, that's allowed us to change the team a little bit. We sometimes see Archie Gray, yes, he's playing right back, but he's able to tuck into midfield from time to time or tuck into the back, and make a back three at the back. So we're just so difficult to play through. In the second half, I've never, ever, ever felt the points were at risk. Even when Bristol City got that chance, I thought it's a bit of a freak how that chance happened anyway, how it kind of came about. And we're going to get those over the season. But that Norwich, Birmingham, Cardiff, no real threat defensively. And that's amazing from us. The stats as well show that this Leeds team is doing phenomenal things out of possession. And listen, on the ball as well, we're a very, very good team in that respect as well. And people have been quite critical of Farke, saying that it's not very tactical, but I don't care. I really don't care. I don't want Jorginho Rutter and Crescencio Somerville playing in some rigid system where they can't move about and express themselves. That is where the difference of having those two players is, that you get the absolute most out of them. You allow them to be a little bit more old school, don't get me wrong. You don't really see managers do that anymore. But it's to Farke's credit, and I genuinely do much prefer watching us to Southampton and Leicester. I find the way they play boring, to be honest. Listen, it works for him. I'm not questioning that for 1 minute, but it's boring for me seeing Championship teams play that way. I like the way we play, high energy, higher tempo, allowing players to express themselves. Nonto as well coming into the team. Only see Nonto getting better and better, and as Lockie alluded to, all of a sudden you got a debate between James and Nonto. And just to finish off with, as I said on All These TV after the game, we're seeing that improvement in Firpo, Gruev, Bamford, Nonto himself, Glenn Kamara. Listen, Glenn Kamara when he first signed wasn't the most exciting signing, was he, on paper? But it just feels like Farke's man management as well is seriously going under the radar. The fact that he was strong with Spence, he was strong with Nonto and Sinistera at the start of the season. It just feels like he's getting everything right in that kind of respect. And listen, 100%. There will be moments over the season where he does get things wrong, and I'm not saying he's got everything right, but when he makes a decision, you know it's with the best intention. You know it's a very calculated, educated decision to make. So, yeah, Farke has proven what he's always proven at this level. And for me, listen, not looking too far ahead, there will be this narrative if we do get promoted off BBC, off Sky, off BT. Oh, there's no way Leeds can stick with Daniel Farke when he's got such a poor record in the Prem. Managers evolve. The best managers evolve. And I think Daniel Farke is showing those signs of, you know what, at the higher level, maybe it could make kind of like Marco Silva, Thomas Frank kind of adaptation to the higher level. I think he can, personally, with how he's got us playing at this moment in time. So, yeah, it's all positive.
Yeah, I love that, bro. I love that because you're right. I had a few responses from Liverpool fans who were saying, "Oh, he doesn't know past 17th in the league and all that." But there has to be context applied to that. Those Leeds fans that are still clinging on to this idea that Farke's no good and they do still exist will be ready with their knives as soon as we hit the Premier League. But I think let's wait to see what he does with a bit of financial backing and go from there. But we've got to get there first. And Evie, I'm going to come to you. We've had a lot of disagreements over the season and about how maybe he's managed the squad and stuff. But do you feel at this point now, looking at it, the way that, like Oscar's alluded to, and the other lads, there's question marks over Strauch. I agree, Strauch's elite, but can you change a team that's winning so well? I'm not too sure that Farke does. Roberts, will he get in over Gray? Will Gray then take Kamara's position? The form of Nonto now. What does that do depending on how long James is out? And we're now seeing. Remember before, Evie, we've spoke about game changers. We're now seeing actual players all be getting to a level where you think whoever plays or whoever enters the pitch, I feel that they're going to make an impact now, Evie.
Yeah, I think that I said when Ampadu went into the back line that it does actually give Daniel Farke a genuine question. And there was comments in the video underneath saying, like, don't be so stupid. Of course, Strauch comes straight back in. But for me, I know we all joke about the whole Wales FC thing, but for me, chemistry matters. And if you've got those players who are used to playing on a national scale with one another, most of them have also played at Swansea, either together, at least with one other member of our team at one point or another. So chemistry has a massive, part to do with it. And I think that for me, it's like we've been simmering. It's like we're some sort of like a chili dish, and we're just on the oven, just simmering away for hours, and we're just waiting to waiting to get to that kind of the crescendo bubble at the end before we tuck in and absolutely devour this lovely bowl of chili. And that for me is what we're doing. We're just really simmering along nicely. I think probably our most intense game was the Ipswich game, but other than that, we've won games without getting out of maybe second, third gear maximum. And I think Farke is building and building and building, and he's obviously building behind the scenes as well. So from what we see on the pitch, and for him, for when we see it on the pitch and we see how the players have improved on the pitch, what we don't see is how he's improving players behind the scenes who maybe haven't taken their chances yet. And, I'm willing to say, I was wrong. I came into your chat the other day and I said, maybe take Nonto off or maybe swap sides with Somerville. I'm happy to say that I'm wrong. And you know what? That's why I'm a fan and not a manager. Because for me, we've seen that game so often this season where it's 0-0, it's on a knife edge, we're doing everything right, all of the stats are in our favour, and they get a set piece and score and we lose 1-0. We've seen that, or we get a 1-1 draw. So for me, it was just my nerves and my kind of anxiety coming to the forefront saying something needs to change. And we've become so dependent as well on Dan James. Like, who would have thought it? I've always loved Dan James, but a lot of the fans at the beginning of the season didn't want anything to do with Dan James. And well, exactly. And we've become so dependent on him now and his speed. And you could see in that first half, Nonto isn't, he doesn't have the same characteristics. But that maybe is match fitness as well. He's not played as much. I remember in the Premier League, he was rapid down the wings. So maybe he gets more game time, he becomes faster. And then when Dan James comes back, he goes back to maybe how he was at the beginning of the season as the impact sub. He comes on, he refreshes other people's legs because he can make those runs. So Daniel Farke's man management for me is absolutely incredible and is so underrated. And I said the other day that it's amazing that we're in a season where there's so many managers genuinely that could be up for manager of the season. And I actually don't think, the irony is the manager who has the team at the top of the table right now, I think is the lowest one out of the top 4 managers. I think he deserves the manager of the season the least, because his squad on paper is far superior to anybody else's. So I think Daniel Farke is doing an incredible job. We can't help it that Leicester are on track to have a record-breaking season. Ipswich are on track to have a record-breaking season, and Southampton are as well within their own club, because this is the longest unbeaten time that they've ever had in their club's history. So it's not Daniel Farke's fault that 3 other clubs at the time above us were having record-breaking seasons. So anybody else that comes and says that, I wanted X, Y, and Z, manager, is just, get gone, because you don't know what you're talking about, because the stats speak for themselves.
He's 3 points ahead of Bielsa than what Bielsa was in the promotion campaign. He's 3 points ahead of that already at this point.
Yeah.
So,
and again, context, and I did use this earlier on in the season as a way to defend him. I'm not trying to reuse it now, because I do agree that we did drop points in a lot of games that we should have won. But there's a lot to be said about that first month again. And I know I don't want to go back, but had we have had, and I think I might have seen Oscar say this as well, but had we have had the same pre-season as a Leicester, as a Southampton, and I know they fell off a little bit, and but had we have had all that, I feel that we would already be close to, and we're close enough now. Do you know what I mean? And I do I've seen a lot on this Bielsa Farke thing. When people are saying this, please know that no one's saying that our squad is the same level or worse than what Bielsa. No one's saying that, and I don't think anyone can ever compare with what Bielsa did, because he came into what was an absolute shit show, a club that was going nowhere, and transformed it and got us in a position to be as strong as we are in the Championship now with Farke. Because if Bielsa never comes in, we're not here where we are now. Do you know what I mean? We're still fucking languishing somewhere.
Measuring success, Joe. That's all it is. Exactly. Is a metric for measuring success. We know what 100%. When we were at points total at this point of the season on the Bielsa, we know we won the league and got promoted. Yeah, that's a metric for success. So if we're trending around the same as that, then we're in good hands. We're going the right direction. Yeah, exactly. And do you know, I want to come to you now, Dale. I know you've waited patiently there, but Evie used a great analogy with regards to the chili, and Johnny mentioned about.
I'm starving now, I must say.
Yeah, it was great. It was
You're
great.
welcome.
But Johnny mentioned a marathon pace, almost building steadily for the running. Farke has maintained this all the way throughout, as well as I'm not looking at the table. Let's check it in August. It genuinely, and I think Evie used this term as well, feels like it's building up to an awesome crescendo, and we're going to get right to the end, and we'll all be sat there going, we fucking did it. And I know you said on Twitter, didn't you? You don't think we're going to get beat again, do you?
I said to Jur, I said to you, but I'll put it out here live. We stay unbeaten the rest of the season in the league. Easy.
Easy. That's bold. We've got Leicester at the end of the month, by the way.
Easy. We've already smashed them. It's simple. It's simple.
I love it, mate.
Simple.
I do. I'm just gonna quickly shoot across. This guy, so humbling all the time, just pops in and out. It's absolutely insane. Abdul Rahman Al Khalifi. Assalamu alaikum. Velikum salam, brother. He says, hi, dear friends, to all. Rodon and Ampadu, in my opinion, are the best centre-backs we have had for a long time. I hope they play together till the end of the season. I think we are unbeaten with those two boyos in defence. Much love from Bahrain. Thank you again, brother. Thank you so much for your contribution. Oscar as well. John Crawford did want to say hi. It's John.
Yes, I remember John. Legend.
Good. Legend. There you go. There you go. Were you in your suit as well, Oscar? If
I
you
was.
get
I was.
Oscar in his suit. It's a vibe, man. It's a vibe.
I don't just go to football in suits, by the way. Before anyone starts. Yeah.
Everyone knows him like on away days and that. As like, oh, there's that geezer in the suit. Like it's Oscar Marion. Yeah, I love that. Right, let's talk about the game as well. I don't want to spend like ages on it, like everyone going around. Let's just pick out some key bits. Let's. Who want? I tell you what, we'll take it. We'll come back to you, Lockie. Talk to me about a specific player or specific moment in that game that you were like, yeah, okay, he was shit, or that was what swung it, or just pure domination. I don't know. Take what you want. Free reign.
I'm just going to mention Cree. Okay. I had a little talk about him because I know I'm watching you watch along, Joe.
Well, when I was going, the greedy pass the ball. Go on.
Now,
put me in the bin.
No. So the point is, there's no right and wrong answer. It's down to preference. It's down to what you think a player should do or what you like a player to do, for example. But the first thing about Cree is, one, we've got to remember his output this season and the goals and assists he's got this year and how effective he's been. And let's be honest, probably been our best player all season. He's been unbelievable. So he's got that there. The way Cree plays, being that greedier player, being a player that does it himself in the box is his bread and butter. And that's the reason he's got the output he's got this season. That's the reason he's playing so well. And that's the reason he's the player he is. And I think Daniel Farke knows that. And you look at our front three, for example. You look at Dan James, you look at Chris Somerville, even Joe Perot to an extent. Rutter's slightly different because confidence in shooting is a little different. But they all shoot in the box. They're so greedy in the box, all of them. Dan James gets it in the box, he shoots most of the time. And I think that's a trait that Daniel Farke has left to the players. Now, I was looking at the game yesterday, and I've got some stats here. So Chris Somerville yesterday, he made, where is it here? Yeah. Oh, wait, I've fingered the wrong game. 1 second. Where is it? Yeah, there, sorry. So passes into the penalty area. He made 7 passes into the penalty area yesterday, and 6 were successful. One of them was where we won the penalty. There was 2 movements in that box where he passed it into the penalty area, into a dangerous area. One was, I've got it written down at the bottom. One was to Kamara, where he should have finished. So instantly, his impact's already been shown in those areas. So he does do that. I think the frustration is, and this is the same for every career player, and I said this in my video, at uni we have a player who's like this. He's unbelievable. He's the best player in our team, but he's so greedy. But if they have the output and they have performing better than anyone else up front or in the attacking position, you just got to kind of, right, Daniel Farke can say it when we need to pass it there. Cree will just nod. He won't do it. He'll do what he wants. That's his freedom. That's what he does. And I think we've got to, like you said, we don't want to make these players a certain thing. We don't want to say you have to pass it there. You can show him and say, look, there's an option there. They're always there. They're always there to give it to. And Cree will simply just go, yeah or no. And I just think he's the type of player who'll just go, all right, but I want to score because that's what he is. That's his bread and butter. That's the player he is. That might lose you 2 or 3, 4 or 5 goals a season by him being that greedier player. But it also could win you 10 games. Like you look at his stats, look at his goals he scored as well, and the positions. He could have passed it in those positions, a lot of the goals he scored. There's better options on. As long as he keeps the output going. And the frustration is, Joe, right? He didn't yesterday, right? Whenever we played, I can't remember. He didn't. He missed 2 or 3 chances. That was the frustration thing. But the one that goes slightly wide of the post, that goes in. We don't talk about it. The 1-on-1 he had where he should have squared it, that sneaks past the keeper, which he's done 3 or 4 times this season in that position. We don't talk about it. So it's about the margins. And I think you've just got to allow the player to be himself. And if that's him, that's him. And if that's a confident Cree, I'm happy with that. The fact he's still doing it and he's still got the confidence to go 1v1 is good for me. Look, like as I said, I know it can be frustrating, believe me. I could go on for hours about the wingers we've got at uni and how, I won't. If any coach from uni are watching this, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It's frustrating, but when they've got the output, they'll literally say to the manager, I understand what you're saying, Farke, but look at my goals and assists. Look at my input in the team. And Farke will go, yeah, but I want you to pass it. And he'll go, yeah, but look at my output. So you can keep going round and round. I think it's just the player he is. Should he pass it at times? Probably. Is he going to? Probably not. I think that's who he is, and I like that about him. So yeah, that's Just want to say that about him.
No, I think that's fair. Because, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's frustrating, but like you say, you can't really grumble when.
I'm not in a guy. I just saw it's just a point I want to talk about.
Mate, fucking put me in the bin, man. Easy does. Don't worry about it.
I was greedy as well, so that's kind of the.
Yeah, Joe, I mean, you can touch on a little bit there of what he said. Obviously, being a coach yourself, you probably couldn't relate. But was there anyone else within the game that stood out to you? Anything you want to touch on?
There is, but I do just want to touch on one thing about Cree, because I did have some notes about Cree as well. I do find myself shouting at the TV, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball. Escalates.
So we're not alone here. We all shout this, do we?
We all shout. Yeah, we're all good.
You know he's not going
to. As I'm looking at a young player, because he is still a young player and he is still learning the game and he is still learning his decision making. You get a lot of mistakes with young players, especially when it comes down to decision making, and especially in stress areas on the pitch, which the last third on either end of the park is a stress area. So you can expect mistakes from younger players in those areas. What I will say though is, if you look at Jorginho Rutter, has a great chance in the first half where he runs all the way towards goal and he decides to square it instead of shooting when he should have shot. So it's decision making with young players, and it's 50-50. It can go either way. Cree is going through a little bit of a tough period in front of goal. But the big thing for me is he is still working his backside off for the team. He's still doing the dirty work. If you look at the chances that Cree got in the game, most of them, if not all of them, he created those chances himself by winning the ball back off people and the way that he presses. Yes, he is overcarrying at times. Yes, he should pass the ball a lot more and a lot quicker at times. That's decision making that will come with age. But he's getting in the right areas. He's still making chances and he's still contributing to the team. And that's all that matters. So I would argue that the whole team, as been said already tonight, hasn't got out of third gear. We will need to get out of third gear at some point. This is not okay. That is not still up. There's still elements there we need to do more in the final third. We need, and Farke said it, we've got to start being ruthless in front of goal, because there will be an odd game where we don't get that goal, and it does come back to haunt us. But what I will say is, and this is the player I want to talk about, and you're probably getting sick of me talking about him, the defensive effort again at the weekend was excellent. Joe Rodon made two very, very important headed blocks at very important times towards the back end of the game. We go back to the Plymouth game when we played in the league at home. We were under pressure in the last 20 minutes from long balls into the box. Same against Bristol City. All of a sudden, we have to defend really deep and well. The low block again that was being organised. If you watch Rodon, the amount of talking he's done, the left and right stuff where he gets people moving around. There's a huge amount of organisation. He stepped right up as well. So I think Joe Rodon, I could watch him playing all day of the week. I loved that Ash made the great wall of Rodon. I think it's the best thing I've seen all year. I love it. The man is a brick.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
When they do the lineup of the players and the players kind of standing up and the hands behind the back, I want to see a brick wall just with Joe Rodon's face on the match.
Hammer Ben White. Which one of the two? Hammer Ben White.
I saw this earlier on. They're very different players for me.
Yeah.
I go with Rodon as a defender right now. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
for me, I go Ben White because I just like what Ben White did with the ball at his feet. They're two different types of players, right?
Very
like
different.
For me, Ben White was a Rolls Royce of a player, whereas, like I was saying on my post match, you look up defender in the dictionary and it's a picture of Joe Rodon. He just knows how to fucking defend. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I would still go Ben White though.
I think there's a lot more. I think you get a lot more leadership from Joe Rodon, a lot more communication. But he's an older player again. Like he's 26. When we had Ben White, he was a lot younger. So yeah, I think outside of being centre backs, you're comparing apples with oranges. It's not comparable. They're very different types of players. But also, Ilan Meslier made the one save he had to make at a very important time in that game.
One-on-one, Joe.
Distribution was good as well. One-on-one, yeah.
1v1, and that's the one he has to make, and he makes it. So. Save as well.
Someone I seen a take that he can't do. Like it's his strongest part of his game, man. What are we doing here? Like stop with these agendas.
Chris Somerville lob that he should have absolutely 100,000,000% gone around the goalkeeper instead of trying to dink him. But that all comes from Meslier punch from a corner. Stop punching the ball, Meslier. That's when he does it right. And when
he's got a lot better at that as well, to be fair.
Yeah. When defenders protect his zone and give him a bit of room to get a run and a punch, then it's not a flap. But when they don't protect that area, you get players backing on top of you and he's trying to slap over their heads. But when he has a little bit of room and the defense does their job really well, that gives him space to run into to attack that ball and punch it. So yeah, look, he did a very good job yesterday at the weekend.
When Meslier gets that assist, which he will this season, for any Meslier doubters out there, I'll be coming for you. I will be unsufferable when that happens. As Chris
The Twitter
going through on
notifications
goal, I'm
rattle.
going, I'm fucking ready.
When that
I'm
happens-
coming for
That's
you.
the first half as well to Rutter's touch. Like that,
Yeah,
that long,
man.
that was a beautiful ball as well.
Yeah.
So good, so good. Evie, who are you going to talk about? Wanting Willie on to off? Have it.
I've already apologised for that, Joe.
I'm joking.
One
Go
thing
on.
that I just want to say is that can we start splitting Joe Rodon into two different players? Because there's Joe Rodon from the shoulders down, who probably gets maybe like a 7 on average every time. And then there's Joe Rodon's head that gets probably an 8.5 or a 9 every single game. Because his head alone has saved so many like mistakes from other players this season. He's incredible. He's like a Land Rover. You know, if Ben White is like a Rolls Royce, he's like a sturdy Land Rover. And I much prefer a Land Rover because they're easier to get parts for. So I think that, and I find that hilarious because I work in a car parts place. So,
He looks like he's wrecked after every game, so maybe we do need a few
Yeah,
spares.
it's brilliant, man. I love him.
but yeah, I thought Rodon, yeah, he's just absolutely incredible. Archie Gray for me was fantastic. I mean, he
Unreal.
was like a ballerina in their box when he was just pirouetting around players, and just he would probably have got like a bit of a slap from Farke because Farke doesn't like players taking the mick out of opposition, and he was shithousing to the absolute max by, you know, a 17-year-old doing fancy flicks around you and managing to get, you know, his pass off as well. I know his end decision making needs to improve a little bit, but that will come with time. He was so good. His interceptions and tackles were absolutely incredible and spot on. I just thought he was brilliant, and I'm looking forward to, as we've already kind of hinted, the fact that when Roberts comes in, for me, Archie Gray is undroppable. So I would be moving Archie Gray into the midfield. And I would have Connor Roberts because, again, as I've talked about with the chemistry, when Dan James at some point is back, I would love to see Connor Roberts, Dan James up and down the wing. And I think that chemistry that they will have from playing in the national team for so many games already, I think will do us nothing but good. And then you've got Archie Gray can be, you know, he can still be sturdy in the midfield, but he can offer maybe a bit more creativity that we're maybe lacking. I think our midfield, is quite defensively minded, whereas Archie wants to progress the ball forward a bit more. And I think Kamara has looked just a little bit leggy, and less Kamara versus Leicester, when he was absolutely just phenomenal. I think maybe his legs and maybe a lack of a pre-season is finally catching up on him a little bit with his fitness. And, you know, what an incredible option to have coming off the bench. You know, if you've got Kamara sat on the bench. But yeah, for me, Archie Gray was my man of the match. I almost gave it to Willie Gnonto, but yeah, for me, Archie Gray was just superb.
Yeah, what a player. What a player. I think as well, like you spoke about that decision making, and that will come with time. I also feel like just his decision making already is already weighing above some of his teammates.
It's ridiculous.
It's mad. Like, you know, when I see like there's a ball and I mention it on the streams all the time, it just really impresses me because I see a ball that's gettable, and in my head I'm going, right, slide, you're going to get that ball ahead of the attacker. It's something Pontus Jansson would do. It's something Gaetano Berardi would do. Maybe even Rodon at times would do because they, you know, but Archie knows, no, I'll just wait a couple more seconds and then what I'll do is I'll shift my body, I'll turn him and I'll move it into midfield. And I'm looking in all like, well, how the fuck have you done that in that such short space of time, man?
I remember one in the second half, Joe, against Bristol, wasn't it, where they had a counter and he just got his body in front of the defender and he just we got the ball back. And like anyone slides there. Anyone does, even experienced players. Yeah, ridiculous, yeah.
And there's a lot of that, even like with Gruyev, for example. Gruyev does it a lot as well. They just stay on the feet. People don't go to ground. If you've gone to ground, you've lost the battle kind of thing. You've already committed. That's what I was told because I just used to fucking love us. I was like, I'm having it. Joe, man, stay on your feet. And that was shit, man,
Football
really. Let me just
intelligence,
say
though,
that.
Joe.
Yeah.
That's what it is. He's got the brain of a 30-year-old. I think
Yeah.
the only thing Hinchcliffe got right at the weekend in the commentary was he plays with such maturity. He plays with an incredibly intelligent brain. And if you look at Gruev as well, he has that where Leeds get themselves into these positions where it's really congested on the wings and there's like 3 or 4 players trying to do these little flicks around the opposition. But then it goes to Gruev and he'll drop the shoulder, turn out and go back with the ball. And all of a sudden it opens the game out and we're away again. So it's clever little things of understanding where you are on the pitch. So for that, for a 17-year-old to have that kind of a brain, footballing brain is incredible.
Insane. Oscar, any special pick out for you, mate?
You know what?
You can speak on something that's already been spoken about if you want.
I'm gonna have to say Gruev. I'm gonna have to put Gruev in there. And it's not just what he does on the ball. I think we've already alluded to. Off the ball, he is fantastic. When he first came in, he's another one of those players. I think we talked about perceptions with Daniel Farke. I felt like the perceptions by myself as well, admittedly. I saw a lot of Mark Rocker in him when he first came in. He's 10 times more tenacious, 10 times more mobile than what Mark Rocker ever was, to be honest with you. And he's absolutely fantastic with the ball at his feet as well. He gives you everything you want in that midfield. He literally is the definition for me of a midfield all-rounder. And I think he's going to get some goals as well as the season goes on. I think he's getting that a little bit more confidence in the final third. I think you're going to start seeing a bit more goals and assists from him. Not that he needs to add that to his game. It would be nice. It'd be a nice little bonus. But, we know his game is about just keeping the ball and progressing play and being tenacious off it. But I think there's still more to come from Gruev. No question about it. And it's a weird one with the midfield because we've got so many really, really good midfielders, especially at this level. But for me, I can't drop Gruev. I'm not saying it won't happen. I personally think it probably will be Gruev who comes out. But I look at Gruev and Ampadu and think, oh, that's a midfield and a half. That in that kind of sense. And I really want Archie to get in.
Oscar? I think they're too similar. Me personally,
I think they can adapt the games to play together. I personally think Ampadu's better off the ball. I think they're both good off the ball. But I think Gruev, the fact that one's right-footed and left-footed as well, it's quite a nice combination in that sense. I really do think it can work together. I think in that first half against Plymouth last week, yes, no, it's a cup game. Plymouth didn't have a kick in that game, and we didn't have the strongest team out. If we had the Somerville on the pitch from the start in that game, maybe Nonto did actually start that game. Nonto in the same form as what he was against Bristol City, we're probably 3 or 4 up in that game. And I think a lot of it was down to just how good Gruev and Ampadu were together. But listen, whoever goes into midfield, even if both of them came out, for argument's sake, and it was Gray and Kamara, he'd still be very, very good on that side of things. But yeah, Gruev for me, he's been absolutely fantastic and probably our best player since the turn of the year. I'd probably go as far as to say. I think there's been a lot of contenders. I mean, Joe Rodon's got to be right up there. But yeah, he has been absolutely outstanding, Gruev. I think what I like about him as well is the fact that when he's had to play on the right of the two, sometimes had to switch over with Kamara. He just cut into it on his left foot, just spray passes, the other way as well. He can play at different angles, and he's just, super impressive player. And I think another one where you look at Nick Hammond and Daniel Farke have cooked big time there. No question about it. I think just add one thing on to Joe Rodon as well, in terms of the Joe Rodon Ben White debate. Listen, everyone will know how much I loved Ben White and how gutted I was when we didn't get that one over the line. I don't know if you remember, Joe, I was in complete meltdown mode on All East TV at that time. I think that's part of the reason you left, to be honest with you. I was kept moaning about it every week. I wouldn't let it go. I said, we've got to sign your rente to keep not bought Ben White every week. But yeah, Rodon for me, out of the two, if you're looking at impact, without question for me, Joe Rodon's had the bigger impact of the two. In that kind of sense, Ben White, listen, was outstanding. I think Ben White overall is the better player. I'm not gonna, it hurts to say that because I much prefer Joe Rodon. More in terms of style of play, he feels more like a lead centre back to me than Ben White ever did, to be honest. But yeah, Ben White is the better player. But in terms of impact, Joe Rodon, absolutely no question about it. Ben White already came into a really strong defence the season before. We can't act like Pontus Jansson wasn't outstanding before he came in. No. Ben White was just like another level up. Joe Rodon came into a defence that was absolutely horrendous. And that's not even just at Premier League level. At the start of the season, that back line was not working at all. We saw that Cardiff game. We got cut open, by Cardiff, and not a great Cardiff team. So yeah, for me, pure impact, Joe Rodon, no question about it. And if it hurts us not signing Ben White on the permanent, I don't know what it's going to do to me if we don't sign Joe Roden on the permanent. I think I'm finished, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's game over.
That's going to be a sad day.
I'm Joe Roden. I can't process it. Cal Bartley hurt. Ben White hurt even more. Surely,
What's it with you in centre backs, Oscar?
Time lucky.
Mate, yeah, him and centre backs. He once called Cooper Baresi, so he loves his centre backs.
Out of context.
Good comparison.
There's no context for that.
I know, I'm only joking.
It is what it is.
No, great. Yeah, listen. When Gruyev played in his preferred role in that first game, I think it was in the cup. Like, it was amazing. I think Ollie came on with. I put a short out about it. I was saying he was spraying balls like Calvin, and Ollie called him bloody Busquets. And then I'm seeing over the last 24 all stats out. We are putting pictures of him with Busquets and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, we do have a real player on our hands there. I've seen some people in the chat making out he won't make it in the Prem. I don't know what you're on about. I did the watch along earlier on, and they were saying we need about 7 or 10 players, and I'm like, I don't think we do, Joe. I know you just think, but I'm like, I look at it and I'm going, okay, we need a 9. I'm talking like, would I give opportunities to these people? Yes, I would. Like, I think we'd need a left back, but I'd be happy going in with Rodon and Strauch. We need a right back. The midfield, again, I'm happy with. Somerville, Rutter, Nonto, James, they all deserve a crack. I would go get a 9. Like, I don't think it's as, like, they're all rubbish at this level. Whereas I look at someone like a Southampton, and what I would say to Southampton is, they've all been in the Prem and had a fair crack at it. Ryan Fraser, Armstrong, both Armstrongs. A lot of them are just that meh level, whereas I think Rutter, all these other players strapped, their ceilings are yet to even be discovered. So to say that we need to replace these lads is a bit, I don't know, but you know what I'm like.
I do think. Well, I think 6-7 is a realistic number, but I'm not talking about players that are going to come in necessarily replace everybody. But if you look at the bench, go through the bench. A lot of bench is going to be in the Premier League side next year. I mean, Cooper's going to lead the club at the end of the season. It's uncertain whether Shackleton signs a new contract and stays, and if the club wants Shackleton to stay because he hasn't played a lot of football, he's out of contract as well. So, that's 2 straight away. Then you want to replace whatever else is on the bench, or you want to replace what's in the starting 11, so the bench all of a sudden gets stronger. I don't think this current Leeds side will compete at the level the 49ers will want them to compete at in the Premier League. I think they'll do fine in the Premier League. They're not a top 10 side. They will be in the lower half of the division. I don't think we'll struggle with relegation, but they will need some key players. I think a left centre back will definitely be bought. I think a left back will be bought. They might have a sneaky look at a goalkeeper and number 9 as well, because I think they need to strengthen certain areas and not risk some of the things that happened before. I don't think they'll make the same mistakes twice.
No, I agree with you. Let's come back to you, Dale. Is it like, obviously in that game, Bristol City, it was, I think Evie got it on. We didn't really have to get out of second gear in the end.
No, we coasted through, but one player that I thought went under the radar that might cause a little bit of a stir, which I like to do. Patrick Bamford. At the full-time whistle, he was bent over, blowing out of his hole. He ran that back line ragged, so he did. For Somerville's attempt, which went wide of the post, he ran right past that defender, dragged them out, and that's what caused the goal, cause of action, but obviously didn't score. But I was just looking off the ball as well, and he makes so many runs in behind that line, and I just want them to get one at least, so it just goes in on goal. But that's one player I thought, but you all really.
No, mate, you bang on, and Dale, I think you bang on, because according to some, if you don't score as a striker, you're shit. And it's just not true. Do you know what I mean? It's just not true. I think, again, another reason why we have now become so dominant in games is a lot to do with Patrick Bamford, because when the ball goes into the final third, it sticks. Do you know what I mean? It's not coming straight back at us, because we've got 2 players who are basically playing in the same fucking space. Do you know what I mean? In Rutter and Pirro, and it's just bound. I mean, I've not seen enough to Pirro to catch, but the lad said he don't fit the system. But I do think his touch leaves a lot to be desired. And when you're playing in tight spaces, your touch needs to be half decent. I don't think his is. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but it's not Jack Harrison, is it? And people won't like me using his name, but his touch was phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
Towards the end of that game as well, he dropped back in the near centre mid position and was just holding and distributing. He was, for me, phenomenal is a big word, but he was very, very good, I thought.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, mate. George, I just want to pick up on this point. You don't have to batter teams to dominate them, because I'll give you a case. I think I vaguely remember Man City beating Man United 6-1 or something like that, but then they beat them 2-0 and they were actually more dominant in the 2-0 win, and it was a training ground game. Do you know what I mean? So scorelines, again, and that comes back to strikers always having to score. Sometimes you have to look a little bit deeper than that. I don't think Bristol City had one shot. I think one shot that was saved by Melier on target anyway. Outside of that, they had absolutely nothing. This was a Bristol City side that had drawn, during the week with Coventry, who were flying at the time. Go on, Lockie.
I was just going to elaborate on that. Yeah. So it's this thing about style, and style is completely choice. Like, if you don't like style, that's fair enough, right? You think something's boring, you don't like the way someone plays. Like, if you play a long ball team, you might not like it, but it's how effective is that style. And you look at since January, genuinely, like, there's hardly any chances we've conceded. Maybe one a game, and even then, they're not even huge. The Bristol City chance came from nothing, and we saved it. Apart from that, they had nothing, really, apart from some crosses in the box, which we dealt with. And that's the theme throughout these games for me. So you look at that end, and then you look at the amount of chances we create the other end. Whatever happens in the middle, that's all down to your preference. But at each end, we're not conceding chances, and we're creating loads. So that is dominating at the end of the day. So, yeah.
There is another bit of that as well.
It's about style, isn't it?
But if you look at the chances we miss, and that comes down to style as well, like, we missed some really big, really creative, really explosive chances that we didn't take. I mean, you've got Somerville's lob, you've got the Rutter chance that he pulls back, and the one that Bamford does lovely outside the foot pass to him that he should score. The keeper flops it, he should score, and he doesn't. Then you've got Creed cutting inside, the little bendy one the second half into the corner, which normally he finds the bottom corner, was a little bit more inside. You have Creed's one coming across the goal that just goes wide. If he pulls that back to Nanto or across the goal to Bamford, it's a tap in. And then you've George's chance in the first half when he runs through on goal. They're really, all of them are big chances. They should be half of them going to the back of the net. All of a sudden 1-0 is it becomes a thrashing. So the dominance was there. I would like to see us get 2 in games and just take that one goal edge off of it, because as good as we have been and as good as defensive we have been, we still look a little bit shaky on set pieces and corners defensively. We have done for a long time. We all know that. But just to make it a little bit comfortable, put the game to bed, we can mess around the ball a little bit too much at times for me when we're 1-0 up, thinking that we're dictating, we're 1-0 up, we won this game. Get the second goal and make sure it's done. But again, every single one of them that I talked about are a young player, and it's all that decision-making piece again. And going forward, they're only going to get better at that.
Yeah, I think go on, Evie. Go on.
Can I just? I've actually got some stats. I
was going to say, look at this pen. What's going on?
I actually did a little bit of research, because I've said it constantly that the defense only has to make one mistake for us to lose a game. But how many times have our attacking front let us down this season? And some facts are, we've had the most shots at goal in the entire league, and yet we are the 12th in terms of our conversion rate. Our conversion rate is 8.3%, and Leicester are top of the conversion rate at 11.5%. So if we've had 627 shots on goal, we have scored 52 goals. Leicester have had 556 shots on goal and have scored 72. If we changed our conversion rate to Leicester's, then we would have scored 72 goals this season, and probably we would have won games that we've either drawn or lost. So we would already be in that top 2 spot. So for as much as we get annoyed with the Preston game, with the Sunderland game, with the Stoke game, our attacking players are just as responsible for us being where we are and not being in the automatic spots as our defence is. Even if we were to cut it down the middle, because Southampton are on 10%, we would still have 62 goals this season, which would mean that we would only have 2 less goals than Leicester this season. So if you work on that accuracy of the shots, creating actions without a finish is pointless, literally pointless.
And this philosopher, say that again for us. Do that again. That was good.
Creating without scoring is pointless, and it's not. I get so infuriated, and I think this is, obviously I I watched your video, Lockie, and I felt a sense of guilt for shouting at Somerville yesterday, Friday, because I was like, yeah, I was one of those people shouting and screaming at him, telling him that he was greedy. But I think because we've seen that game so often this season, and our attacking, we get told we have the best attacking, force in the league, then why are we 12th for conversion? If our attacking, front four are so dominant, why do the stats not say that we are? Because we're not actually finishing those products. We're having to walk the ball into the net, and it's why I wanted another number 10, because Rutter doesn't take shots from outside. Yes, he took that bizarre one the other day when the goalkeeper was off his line, and he still managed to get it over the net, But that's a skill that so far he doesn't have. And when we got promoted last time, we had impact players that could do that. Pablo could do it. Click could do it. We had players that could take that shot, and that for me is less about Daniel Farke's tactics and more about the players that he has available to him. He doesn't have those players available to him, so he has to break a low block down differently than Bielsa did. So people said, oh, well, Bielsa could break down a low block. Bielsa had the players that could break down a low block. If you've got players that are willing,
disagree on that anyway, Eva.
We had a lot of chances under Bielsa as well, but
we did. But the thing is that if Farke doesn't have that available to him, how is he supposed to implement that? If we don't have the players that are willing and competent to take those shots outside of the box, then Farke has to completely create a tactic to break down those low blocks. And Jer, I think you've said it consistently throughout the season in the fact of speed. Speed is everything. If you do movements fast, the low block breaks down because they don't know what they're doing, kind of thing. Whereas if you build up slow, it's why I hate it when we get a throw in, because we take about 3 years to take a throw in, and then everybody's just reset into their places. So then we've lost any sort of, ability to break it down and for people to not be, to be out of position. So, with these stats, it shows that our front four aren't as dominant as they should be. On paper, they're incredible, but the goals say different with the amount of attempts that it takes to score them.
There's a slight change with that, though. This is what I think it's important. You're 100% correct. Before Christmas, and I talked an awful lot, Joe, on this show about playing the teams in the bottom half of the season are the ones that win you the league. It's not beating Leicester and beating Ipswich. Ultimately, that's 4 matches. It doesn't matter. It's beating everybody else that matters. The teams that you should be beating, getting those done. Before the Christmas break, we came up against teams like Stoke that they will never go away. Second half against Huddersfield, second half against Plymouth, where all of a sudden we just looked a little bit, took that little drop off in tempo that we do, and all of a sudden we couldn't break down these teams anymore. And some of the games we had a lead and it was okay, and against Stoke we didn't. But what's happened since the third of the year, and we've said it all year, bringing Georgie back into that 10 position and putting a natural number 9 who will, and Dale, you said it completely correctly, Pat Bamford will drag the defenders away from the midfield, and all of a sudden the gaps that were compact become longer because he's staying up top and he's occupying those centre backs and he's occupying the lines between them. Since the turn of the year, Leeds have found a way to break down these teams. And if you go back again to the games we struggled at earlier in the year, we weren't even creating chances around the goal. We weren't even having shots. Now all of a sudden we're missing 5-6 big chances in front of goal against these teams and still managing to win 1-0. And the big part for me on that is the nil. We're not giving up the chances we gave before. We're not giving away the simple goals we gave before. We are having dominant 1-0. I love a 1-0. I'm never 100% comfortable with Leeds being 1-0. I always think we've got a mistake in us, but that's legacy stuff. But I do think there's been a significant sea change in how we've been playing the game and how at times Daniel Farke seems happy for us to drop into a low block and go, okay, we've done our bit for a while. We're going to take 10 minutes of a break. You come out and see what you can do. And they've defended incredibly well. They really have done it well. But it's the ability to break down these teams when it is tight and it is a low block. And since the turn of the year, every single game, we've managed to do that. And long may that continue. If we can start to convert some of the big chances that we're making, this will get a lot more comfortable. It shows a character in the team. Even winning the game on Friday night to put us second, even though it was only for a couple of hours, that shows a character in the team that when the opportunity was presented with them to get into the automatic positions, did they have the bottle to do it, or did they literally bottle it? And they had the bottle to go and get it done, and they got into that second spot. Then Ipswich mess up, and we're in third place. And we've got a really good crack at this now. There is progress. There is growth throughout the year. This team is getting better. It is getting more solid at the back. It is getting more clinical in front of goal. It is creating more chances. Goals will come. I've no doubt. I've said at the start of the season, at some point this year, we're going to absolutely batter somebody. It's going to just click. It might not be this season. It might be next season. It could be the year after. These players are still very, very young. If you look at our defensive players, they're experienced. Them all old Archie, maybe. They're experienced players back there. You go to the front end of the pitch, it's a lot less experience outside of Pat up there. It's a lot younger. So, again, you're going to get that. But I think there has been, you're 100% right, Evie, what you're saying. But there has been a change since Christmas. I think that's really important to focus on as well.
I think we'd be a lot more worried if our chance creation comes down in half. But, we're in a great position now, so just keep looking forward, because at the end of the day, we're creating the chances. We're 1-1 now. Hey, 3 points is 3 points. I'll take that every day of the week until
100%.
we get up or win the league. Either one, won the league.
Yeah. I think that's
it's
great.
3 points is 3 points.
Yeah.
And just
You
to
know what,
George
elaborate,
Graham made it clear Arsenal 1-0, didn't he?
Yeah, I always remember, because as a fan, before you jump in, Lockie, used to get hit. I hated Bamford. Because Roof was finding the back of the net and stuff. But like Bielsa always said, it's when he's not getting in the positions, and I sort of like, that's why I love Darwin Núñez now, because his finishing's not great, but everything outside of that is fucking phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just like, if you could just
he'll
get
always
that
get
over
goals
the line.
as well. In terms of Núñez, I think what's he on, 11 goals, 10 assists. He's on something mad, twice. He's already on double figures for goals and assists.
Yeah.
He gets himself into those positions so often. Bit like Bamford to a certain extent. Dan James, I'd say, is probably quite similar. His numbers are ridiculous, Dan James, but you look for that amount of minutes he's played. I wouldn't say he's the most clinical finisher in the world, but it's that mindset, that aggressive mindset, just to get in the right positions at the right time. And I'd probably say I'd say Perot's a cold finisher as well, but I'd say Somerville probably is as well. They're the players who are described as killers in front of goal. As much as I love judging Rutter, James, Bamford, I wouldn't necessarily describe them as that, but I'd describe them as players that will certainly still get you a lot of output over the season. But I think Somerville and Perot, if he plays, are the players that get you the big numbers for me.
Yeah.
Did you want to come in as well, Lockie, mate?
So. Yeah, just about the chance creation either end that we were talking about earlier, just to back up the point, really. So I was looking last week on Y-Scout at the expected goals and expected goals against. And again, just to clarify, stats have their place if they're used in the correct context. You can't just use them willy-nilly, but we have the context of watching Leeds every week, and we can watch every single one of these games. Now, and what we spoke about was chances created. So we have the highest expected goals in the league, and we are underperforming that by 5 goals, which is quite big, by the way. So we should score 5 more goals than what we have. Ipswich, for example, I think they're overperforming it by 2 or 3, which shows that they are scoring either amazing goals from outside the box or deflections, which they have a few of.
A lot of deflections.
Yes. So that's the look element of it, which is an aspect. You score 2 or 3 deflected goals, that could win you 6-7 points, right? So that side of it is there. We are creating the most chances in the league. We're doing that. And then I looked at the other end, and I didn't think it'd be this good. But expected goals against is also the lowest in the league. So even at the other end, we're conceding the least chances. So everything is there, everything is right. And then you look at the table and you see 3rd or 4th and you go, so it's just them little bits, taking them chances, reaching our expected goals, getting that level. And obviously in games where we've had either some terrible luck with goals conceded or just little moments in games where we've just lost concentration. Because through 90 minutes in a game or throughout the entire season, we've conceded the least chances. So everything is there for success, and we just need that consistency, and then this team will fly, in my opinion. Yeah. And I think we're seeing a bit of that in the defensive end for sure.
100%. And Oscar, I'll throw to you because you haven't spoken for a bit, but there is this thing now, and I think there seems to be a realisation outside of Leeds United as well, and maybe even within the fan base. I think some of us have always said, yeah, you can see it, others maybe not so much, and look at Leicester spanking Stoke 5-4 and just think that they're like the yardstick, and they do that every week, which they don't. And we've said before, like, they're shite to watch. I still stand by the point, and I think the numbers are starting to back it up, and we're now seeing opposing fans say it as well, Oscar, that Leeds United, arguably, although we're 3rd right now, are the best team in the league. The most informed, the best to watch, and as we've said right at the start, we're starting to build up to a crescendo almost. And Oscar, like where do you think it can go? It looks to me now like Ipswich have got to play West Brom at 12:30 on Saturday, right? We're at home to Rotherham. That West Brom game ain't going to be easy. Okay, they'll still have a game in hand, but the good thing this weekend was, and everyone wants to go, oh, but what about Southampton? It's another one that we've pegged in, though. And let's not forget, a couple of weeks back, they were almost double digits away from us, and now we're ahead of them in the table, Oscar. So where can we go? Are you still confident top two's there, or where's your head at with it?
Yeah, I think top two, definitely. It's got to be the ambition. Listen, it's going to need record-breaking points for seconds. We know that. We've got to accept that. We've got to make peace with that. I think I'd almost compare it to when Liverpool didn't win the league and they got whatever. Well, twice they did it, didn't they? They got like mid-90s on points. I've just got that horrible feeling with us. But whoever misses out between us and Southampton, I personally listen. Ipswich are definitely in it as well. Whoever misses out of those, 2 out of those 4 teams will miss out. Whoever misses out is going to be super unlucky, the way things are going at this moment in time. And you know what it's like in the playoffs, West Brom will end up winning them because Carlos Corberan in a one-off game is absolutely phenomenal, by the way, in terms of his management.
Yeah.
And I've got actual confidence that he'll do a job on Ipswich on Saturday afternoon. But yeah, in terms of us, top 2 is definitely on. I think the fact that, we look at the spine of a team, Rodon, Ampadu, Rutter, Somerville, Bamford, there's an inevitability about it. With those players, certainly Rodon, Ampadu, they're going to give you 8 out of 10 at the minimum every single week. You've got that base to build from each week. Southampton as well have got some really tough games to play. The fact that in the final quarter of the season, they've got to go to us, of course, Leicester and Ipswich, and they've got some tricky ones against Coventry and teams like that as well. You don't want to be playing teams like Coventry when at the end of a season. Really, really don't want to be playing Coventry then. So yeah, it's definitely on for us. There's no question about that at all. I think Southampton, of course, they're on a fantastic run, but I think a little bit of that, you've got to look at the teams they're playing. I mean, they have had a run of games where you think you kind of expect Southampton to put a run together with those games. Rotherham away. I don't know, who was it, Sheffield Wednesday the week before at home. You expect them to win those games, if you know what I mean.
Bloody Huddersfield at home this weekend.
Yeah, it does feel like that. At this moment in time, it does feel like they've had that run of games. But when it comes to the end of the season, we'll see how things are. I think I've seen a couple of Twitter accounts make quite big, bold claims. But after February 17th, I can't remember who tweeted it. We said, after February 17th, let's talk Southampton. And when you look at their run of games, to be fair,
we will be there.
We will be there.
We'll smash them at home at the end of the season.
If listen, all we need to be, and I say all we need to be, we're going to have to keep this pace up. We only need to be within 2 or 3 points of Southampton on that last game of the season, and we've got a shootout. If you offer me a shootout game with Southampton now, I'm taking it. I'm taking that game. If you'd have offered anyone a shootout game against Southampton after that West Brom away game before New Year, we'd have took it. Absolutely no question about it. Listen, I'd much rather get the job done before then, or only need to draw. See, the thing that would worry me more, actually, is only need to draw against Southampton, and then all of a sudden, that kind of double questioning ourselves, thinking, do we need to sit in a little bit? Do we need to go for it? Do we need to sit in? Do we need to go for it? I just think straightforward, win, and we're promoted. It's we know what's going to happen though. If Leeds get promoted, we won't do it before that last game of the season. It will be a one-game shootout. You need to make peace of that, honestly, because it will be. This is Leeds United. This is our heritage. This is Leeds United. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it. Bristol Rovers, Jermaine Beckford.
Chris Somerville gets sent off for some uproar.
There's got to be drama somewhere along the line.
I'll tell you what's going to happen, right? Last game of the season against Southampton. Joe Rodon's going to score his first goal for the club off his face. That's what it's going to be. It wouldn't be anywhere else with him, would it? It's going to come off, not his head, his face. It's going to hit his face.
It's interesting. I said to you that we'd be in the top 2 at the end of January. And you kept saying, let's do the first week of January. I was like, no, give January to Leicester. Let's just see where we are. Yeah. We went into the top 2 on the 2nd of February, temporarily. So again, it was looking at those fixtures around that time as well, who we were playing and who they were playing as well. April is going to be a huge month for Leeds. Huge month. April is the same fixture list as we had in December, and we had our wobble in December. Now it's the reverse. And I agree with Oscar. I think it'll come right down to Southampton at home, but it's at home. It's in Elland Road, and I think we still go there at the end of the season, unbeaten at home. And I think we might. I don't think this league is over by a long shot. I think there's a lot more twists and turns. I think we will drop points. I love Dale's optimism, but I think we will drop points. But I don't think we'll drop them at home. And I think if we can get through that April period with a decent run, I think we'll be in really good shape going into that final game. And I'll just book my flights and my hotel for the Southampton game. So we better be
next week.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing as well is we go to London on the penultimate away game of the season. We're not going to seal it in London, are we? Let's just accept it. It's not going to happen in London, is it? I mean, being there enough
if
time.
anything, mate, we'll drop points in that game that allows Southampton back in. You know
when
we
got promoted 2010, I remember these games really well. Gillingham away, Charlton away. We both had chances to move so far clear of Millwall that Bristol Rovers wouldn't even matter. I always remember a Charlton game. That was the penultimate game away from home. Yeah. Millwall were getting beat. We just need the win to go up. And then I think Simon Grayson put 5 strikers on, and we got beat 1-0. And it was like I just remember that game thinking, oh no, that's it, that's over. We're bottling Bristol Rovers, and it is like that. It's our heritage. It's what we do. It's like, you know what I mean. Real Madrid scored last-minute winners in the Champions League. Our heritage is taking things to the last minute. You can't beat heritage at the end of the day. That's the reality.
It'd be a great memory if we did it, wouldn't it? It'd be a great memory.
Not to say the Football League is corrupt, because it is. There's no way they're not going to allow that to have some kind of drama on the last game of the season. The script writers are going to have to cook on that last game of the season. They need it to be dramatic.
I think our mentality.
There's a little. Go on, Dale. Go on, mate.
What Farke's built over the case of the season so far is like unbelievable. The players are just on such a high that I think they're like, the mentality in them is just like, no matter what, game at a time, as Farke says, he's not looking at the table. So they just keep going game at a time. But you see, they're just happy to play football. Like Nanto at the end of that game, like it was phenomenal to see. Like the Leeds fans
as well, pushing into the crowd.
Pushing him.
He finally gets his moment with the crowd.
Man, it was brilliant.
Even Somerville at the end, it was only 2 years his senior going, you deserve it, brother, and that, and like cuddling him and that. It was this melts my heart. Do you know what I mean?
It really is. It seems back to the also place.
Go on, sorry.
Go ahead, Evie.
Don't you think that this is now the fresh start for Nanto? That goal, that game, everything. This is where his season starts. And it couldn't have happened at a better time. You know, we have no Dan James right now, so we need him to be firing. We need him to want to be here. We need the fans to be behind him and to have forgotten or forgiven, not forgotten, but forgiven his misgivings in, at the end of the day, we've all been 19. We were all idiots at 19. He's just done it on a public stage where we all feel this entitlement to that. We feel personally shunned if somebody doesn't want to play for our club, and why wouldn't you want to play? But I just think that this is a clean slate. The fact that Daniel Farke gave him a hug and a kiss on his head, and that's what I was talking about, the behind the scenes man management, that we may not have seen the struggles that Nanto will have gone on, and you can't tell me that he hasn't been struggling. Yes, some of it was self-inflicted, but he's a 19-year-old in a foreign country where English isn't his first language, and he's essentially being kind of shunned and exiled from a club, and relegation. Now we need to get promoted. Just all of these different things. It just felt like, I've got to admit, I had a tear in my eye when the end was there and he was doing the ways with the crowd at the end, and he was singing along to them, singing his song and everything. It was just really heartwarming, and that for me is why I would never want any of the Rats back. Just a little put it in there, is because this harmony between this group now that Daniel Farke has worked so hard and to very little actual kind of recognition, really, that I think that it's incredible what he's done, and the fact that Willie Nanto, fair play to him as well, because he's still been there in the background when he's been injured and cheering the team on and traveling, so fair enough. At 19, coming on 20, I don't think most of us would have had the bottle to kind of take that public battering and come out and score. And he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't, that release, it was like pure, raw ecstasy
Oh,
when he was like
100%.
roaring.
Celebration was amazing, wasn't it?
Oh, it
It's
was
just
it was
celebration, isn't it?
wonderful.
It's everything
Yeah.
coming off his shoulders. Like there's been a couple of those really big moments I think this year, and they're all to do with this crowd and this waiting that they do at the end. There seems to be a selective from the group to push certain individuals at certain times forward to give them their moment. And I go back to Ilan Melier one again. I think it was against Leicester. After that absolutely nuts save that he made against Leicester, and they pushed him into the corners where the crowd were, and he was kind of reluctant to go in. They were like, go, and they pushed him, and the crowd were giving it loads, and he did the thing, and as he turned around, you could just see him go. You could just say that's 2 years worth of pressure and stress coming off his shoulders. And then look at Nanto's. Nanto's original celebration was finger in the air, and then it kind of hit when he looked at he was in front of the Leeds fans, and they were going nuts. And then you could just see it, all of it come off his shoulders. And I said this a couple of weeks ago, he needed that moment. They all need that moment to build that bridge. They stayed here, reluctantly or not, he's still here. And he had his moment, and it's great. And Evie's 100% right. That dressing room is so much better now. Daniel Farke has a standard, whether you agree with it or not. It's either knocked players back into the right way of thinking, like Nanto and Creswell, or it's gotten rid of them like Spence. So it's hugely important what they're building behind the scenes there and what he's doing, because it is reflective on the pitch and it is reflective in the individual. So
Cresswell was there celebrating at the end as well, which
Yes,
was,
he was.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, that's exactly the same for Georgina Rutter as well. I remember before that goal at Ipswich, that wonderful goal he scored at Ipswich, it weren't great before that. And that's it. They were the ones pushing him then. When he scored that goal at Ipswich, you could see he was so happy, and that's what kicked his season, and he's been unbelievable since. But now he's the one doing that. So that just shows the growth of him and everyone around him. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's good.
we know what it feels.
I think
They know what that means. Like they've been in that situation. They know that actually, no, this is important. Go and do that. It's important. Do it.
it's such
One last.
Yeah, I'm dying to go. Go on.
You've stopped me many a time, Joe, so it's nice to have the reverse. One thing that I would say is that, one of Bielsa's many smart things, that he said was that the only exchange that fans get out of football is emotion. And everybody felt that emotion. That is what makes, for me, Leeds United different to just a clinical Premier League team, is that raw, guttural, whether it's bad, whether it's good, whether it's indifferent, we feel everything to do with this club. And that, just seeing the bond between everybody, and Rutter's gone from the player that, let's face it, this time last year nobody really wanted him because of the fact that £35 million on a player who'd never played in England before was probably a ridiculous amount of money to pay for somebody. And now he's like a Leeds darling, and he's like the popular kid in school, kind of taking the nerdy one under his wing kind of thing, and saying, no, like, come and enjoy it, we're all here for you. And it's just, Bielsa's right with many things, but that's always something that sticks in with me. When obviously the Super League came about, that was what they used on the documentary about the Super League, was Bielsa's quote of, the only, interaction that fans get, in that exchange is emotion. So, we deserve that emotion, and Nanto deserved that emotion.
I'm glad I let you go. Evie. I'm an emotional wreck at the minute. I'm up and down like a yo-yo. So it's just like I can't lie. Like the football club's, like, it means a lot it means everything to all of us, obviously, on this show. Do you know what I mean? And everybody watching in the comments and that. And you're right. Like it almost feels like we're getting it back again. Do you know what I mean? After some glorious years under Marcelo, and then thinking, that's gone now. That's how it felt for me. It's gone. We've lost it all. We've fucking ruined it. We had everything, and the bastards have ruined it. That's why last season was so tough for me, and I hated them all. But, like, now I feel happy again. Do you know what I mean? I do feel happy. I enjoy talking about it, looking forward to watching them play and all that sort of stuff. And I think Farke's the correct... Maybe Corberan aside, I'd have liked to have seen that, but I think Farke is almost the perfect one to take over, really. The man after the man, if you like. It was always going to be tough for Marsh. I will hold my hands up, but he didn't help himself. But Farke's genuinely, and that's why I find it hard. And I'm
Could I just say though, Joe, on Jesse Marsh, I mean, the big thing modelled himself on. I don't know if you watched the Simon Jordan interview and that lot, but the big thing I always thought is
I did.
his management always seems to be centered on emotion, but it never felt like there was an emotional bond with the players. It feels like Farke's 10 times better at that, and that's not even what his management's necessarily built around. Marsh built his whole personality around, around that kind of thing, and it just feels like with Farke, it's almost like Farke and Bielsa don't force it, don't push it too much. It just feels like it's natural. They just know how to put a team together. They know how to put big characters in. You look at people like Rodon, Ampadu, leaders, just players that Marsh had no kind of interest in. Those kind of players. Players that can just lead a dressing room. We had that with Phillips and Pablo and the Bielsa, and it just feels when you put the right character, not just the players, the technical quality, how physical they are, all those different bits and pieces, are they good value for money? It's those other intangibles, the leadership they can bring to the dressing room, and that's it for me. With people like that, and I think Crescencio Somerville, I think, is developing into that as well, a little bit of a leader, low key, and that's why I think Crescencio Somerville really is a player who's just going to go on and on and on for me. If we go up this year and we manage to keep Somerville into the Premier League, I still see him hitting really good numbers in the Premier League as well. I do see him making that kind of Ivan Toney, style jump up where it just doesn't seem a problem to him. Brian Mbuemo, etc., etc. I do see him doing that because, Somerville, there was this perception around him that he was, a difficult player to manage. But I think when you're seeing it now under Daniel Farke, someone that just plays to his strengths, he's kind of like he's brightening everyone up. And you see it with Nonto. You see it, everyone last season, it was all about Nonto, Nonto this, Nonto that. But Somerville was still the one getting more goals, getting more assists in less minutes than what Nonto was. Somerville feels like the leader in that kind of group of players in that kind of sense. And maybe you see it with Rutter as well, a little bit as well. So I think having leaders in the dressing room breeds other leaders. I just think it does. I think, and that's the big thing for us and why it's so crucial. We've got this summer of recruitment spot on, and there's no question about it. If Farke had the same settled pre-season, it's not even just 1 month we've lost in August. It's before that. Martin and Maresca had settled squads on July the 1st. We didn't. If you look at the team that played in pre-season, the team that played Cardiff and Birmingham. I remember coming home from that Birmingham game and thinking, there's no chance. There's actually no chance. I don't even think we're going to get playoffs. I can't even. This is like the Warnock days again a little bit. You're looking at some of the players that are on the pitch. In terms of nothing against Jamie Shackleton, but Jamie Shackleton was playing right wing in that game. It didn't look right at all. The team. And you're thinking, this is going to be a long season. But little by little, that West Brom game happened. Good performance. Ipswich happened, and it's a whole disruption. And then Sinisterra goes. It really has, it's a great comeback from us this season, really. You got to say, it's not just Daniel Farke as well. Nick Hammond, he's had to make some big calls. He's had to replace big players. The 49ers, we've got it spot on so far, in terms of financial fair play, things like that. And I do just think if we got promoted, we would really go for it at Premier League level. I think you would see it go up another gear. And I really do think it would be a serious proposition. I think we would be closer to a Brentford or Brighton than we would, say, a Burnley. I hope so, anyway.
No, I agree. And I just want to just really not to rat home, but there has been a hell of a lot of criticism on Daniel Farke, and still tends to be. It's still not good enough. It's like, well, anybody should be top 2 with this squad, not taking into context everything that Oscar's just fucking mentioned. But I do just want to say, not his man management is the best man manager we've had at this football club for a hell of a long time. Because whatever you say about Bielsa, his man management wasn't a strong point. And I don't mean that in any disrespect. I fucking love the man, but he barely even spoke to the players. There was a big distance between him and the players. It was very much authoritarian, and so it should have been. Even Pablo said the other day in his interview, we didn't enjoy training, but we seen the results on the pitch. So fucking did what we were told. And it wasn't until they started to question him, if you remember, in the Premier League, they went to him, and it's on record as him saying no, and he doubled down. He said, no, you'll do fucking more of it now because I'm the boss. Do you know what I mean? And that's fine. But with Farke, in terms of man management, for me, I don't think we've had anyone as good as that for a very, very long time. The way that he's
Simon
dealt
Grayson for me would be the last manager who I think
100%
really
Oscar.
excels.
Yeah.
You know, emotional intelligence and that lot.
Yeah.
I think there's a point though. There should. I'm not a fan of 100% praise all the time because of some reasons, and not all. You need to look at the totality of everything. Daniel Farke will still get criticised because of how he uses his bench, and rightly so, because he doesn't use it well enough. He doesn't use it early enough. Results are, regardless or not, it's a 46-game season, and it will catch up on some players. Some players, maybe not all, but it will. His rotation squad doesn't happen often enough when he has opportunities to do it. They are accurate and fair criticisms. That's not to say he's not doing a really, really good job at the club, because clearly he is. But I don't believe in blind faith. I don't believe in 100% buying in, but I'm believing, giving everyone like 100% blindly. You have to earn that as well. You have to show it. Daniel Farke will be criticised at times when he gets it wrong, and rightly so. And as we keep saying, when he gets it right, he deserves all the praise in the world that he gets for it. He's doing a bloody good job this year. He did an excellent job in the summer in an awful time for the club and a nightmare time, but balanced as well. For where we are performance-wise, he's doing a cracking job.
But come back to the man management, though, the point that I was making, Joe. 100%. You can't question that now, surely.
Right. No, I think you're 100% correct. 100% correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Never underestimate the value of man management as well. Never ever underestimate how important that is. You know, it always gets talked about tactics and things like that. You know, have you got patterns of play? Are you pressing? But look at people like Carlo Ancelotti and the longevity they've had in the game. You know, look, obviously Carlo Ancelotti is an unbelievable tactician, but I wouldn't say he's Pep level in that sense. But man management wise, he just always gets it spot on.
The players love him. They play for him.
Exactly. Klopp as well. You know, I'd say.
Yeah,
it's
buy into the system. The tactics are important, but the buy-in is massive because the tactics are nothing if the players don't buy into it. The man management skills and the people skills that he has gets the players to buy into it. That's the difference between somebody who's a really good. And again, you go back to the stuff that if anyone watched Jesse Marsh's Masterclass, it's no wonder the players couldn't do what they were asked to do. Holy shit, it was more complicated I've ever seen in my entire life. And the instructions each player had was ridiculous. You could never buy into that system because you couldn't understand it. It was nuts when you actually hear it being said out loud. Daniel Farke simplifies the jobs for people. The parents and player are important. The tactics are important, but getting them to believe that it will work, getting them to do it, even when it's not, especially at the start of the season when it wasn't working in some games, getting them to persevere through that and go, it will work. Trust the system, trust the process. That's him that does that. That's 100% him that does that.
Also, as well, he's admitted that he's human because they have to trust him and he has to trust them. But he has changed his mind with Rutter, which means that gives even more props to him, to the players, to say, look, I'm believing in you. You guys and you know, as are saying that maybe somebody else should be played in a different position. So you've trusted in me. I've given you results. I'm going to trust in you now. You've now got me results. So it's a two-way relationship, and they can see that it's working on and off the pitch. It's not just all vibes, and it's not just all totalitarian kind of, you know, football. It's a good, you know, relationship where we can all admit that there's faults, and then we come together, find a solution and move forward with it. And that's how, you know, this is also Daniel Farke's biggest job. And I don't mean that as disrespectful towards Norwich, but this is the biggest club this is the biggest club he's ever had. So it's, you know, the weight of expectation, and the fact that the weight of expectation for Norwich is to get promoted, but that they're never going to spend the money to stay there. Whereas our weight of expectation is that not only do we want promotion, we want stability. We want to maintain our Premier League status, and eventually we want to move towards top 10 and Europe. So they have to have that relationship if there's going to be any sort of longevity, especially with the fact that how young a lot of our squad is. We have the potential that these players could play and grow under Daniel Farke and at Leeds United, because, you know, a lot of the younger players have really lengthy contracts. So you want to start on a good footing, and you want to have a manager who you can feel comfortable with, who will give you a bollocking when needed and maybe say, look, I don't feel that you're getting it. So right now you can't play for me, because until you get your head screwed on, I don't need that. The team doesn't need that. And for me, the team now gets side before self. And we haven't had that for really 18 months. So that's so
Yep.
important and such credit to Farke.
He's given the hard stuff when they need it, but he's also proven that the door is never closed. And that's huge.
Yeah.
Like, you cross me, like Creswell's father going on Twitter, some managers could have said, done, like Ten Hag, you're done, out, gone.
Yeah.
You look at what he's done, it's like, you're going to feel the pain a little bit. But when you're right, the door is still open. That's a huge thing for a manager. And for other players to go, I can mess up here and I'll still get a second chance.
Yeah. And you know what? There's a great point as well, because it has to be consistent, because Ten Hag booted out Sancho, but Rashford can do no wrong because he's too valuable to the football club, you see. So that's where, again, there'll be misgivings in that dressing room going, fuck, Sancho, my mate, went, but why is Rashford still here? So that's where, you know, and that's one thing you have to say for Farke, he is consistent with it as well. I do want to finish up. We've done an hour and a half. I'll say now with chess, this has been my favourite show of this season. It's just pure quality from everybody. Thank you so much for the contributions. It's probably because Leeds are doing mint as well at the minute, so that helps, of course. But yeah, really enjoyed tonight's show. Dale, big up as well, coming in with some big hitters here in the content creation world and smashing it. So, so legend to you. Big up to Oscar, Jer, Lockie, Evie. We are going to do a redirect, folks, as well, and it's another Leeds United channel, Auto Know Better. There's currently 25 watching now, right? We're going to rectify that. There's 762 here, so I want you to all go on over as soon as this finish, right? But I want you to do something for me, right? You're going to say Just Joe Raid in the chat. You're either going to say Liu Tang Klang, or you're going to put Chris Pratt, okay? Because Jay Carty was told that he looks like Chris Pratt, right? I'm not having it. I'm not having it at all. So I want you to go across Just Joe Raid and write Chris Pratt, okay? That's what I want you to do. So make sure you do that. With this being the final word as well, I'm going to give it to Dale. What's the final word, brother?
Well, I've said at the start, I'll say it at the end. We go unbeaten the rest of the season.
Love it. There you go. Unbeaten. Unbeaten is the final word. Make sure you go on over. I will check their chat. Just Joe Raid, Chris Pratt. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye now.